An endless hallway crept, lit by extinguished torches. Walls of bluish stone danced a pristine yet worn facade. Lumi and Uriel stood upon black tiling amid cold, mana-devoid air. Shivers flew down Lumi's spine, swirling with woe. Uriel remained unaffected. Lumi gripped a book bound in a sickly green devourer skin cover, its slimy algae texture squished into her fingers, releasing a foul scent, burning and pillaging Uriel's nose hair. Unknowingly, he walked through its mana, oozing into the air. The tiles echoed quiet, negligible footsteps. A surface so smooth as if carved by a god. Lumi's mind wandered, jumping back to her garden, returning to seemingly friendlier days. The day was beautiful, as it always was, a clear, cloudless sky. Forever stuck at noon, the sun glared down with its delightful glee, shining its golden gaze onto the blossoming roses, filling the air with flavours. Lumi stood in a beige storage room, holding a book. One bound in leather, small, bold letters elegantly written on top. The basic types of teleportation spells, signed Arnekara, the god of magic. Lumi, however, wasn't reading it, but staring at Uriel and the bandages wrapped around his neck. "You've already recovered your mana?" Lumi questioned, loudly. "It's only been a few minutes since I asked you to recover it. Are you sure?" Uriel nodded slightly. "I did what you asked. Can we leave?" Nauseating silence snapped her back. Thought slowly returned. Continuing their walk, they longed for the sweet scent of rose over the foul rot bombarding them. Her fingers were tightly wrapped around the book, wishing she'd brought its entire case from that bookshelf. At least then her senses would adjust to the mana-devoid air. Instead, they were attacked by the overwhelming mana dripping from the book. Dampening her senses, thoughts slowly returned to the garden and retrieval of the book she so tightly held, and on the other side of the room. A bookshelf, slightly taller than its neighbours, blended into the walls, holding a single book. Locked, in a box, made from clear metal, sparkling, as if reflecting a night sky. Grabbing the book, Lumi made her way outside, the grass crunching beneath her, hearing Dex Nox praying out of sight, contemplating if she knew where her realm was. "I guess I don't," Lumi muttered, wandering to a dark table, papers and books littering its dotted surface. Digging in the pile and retrieving a letter. "She was at the banquet. Surely you know where she lives?" Lumi's shoddy handwriting from her failed attempt laughed at her while she carried it. Neatly folding it, she hobbled toward Uriel, asking to send the letter, or they'd never reach the mother. A single sharp splash of water echoed at Uriel's feet, leaking the eons-old water into his leathery shoes, breaking Lumi's thoughts, forcing her to endure the walls miserably drowning. Sweat dripped from her. "I completely forgot. We're going to meet her, the god of spell creation. The mother, the one who won against Abraxas using curse magic. The magic was underused and undeveloped. No god considered it a threat. No one. Not even Abraxas, the god of swordplay, considered it, regardless of his status as upper rank 5. Yet she did. If any would, it would be her. The enigma who would leave questions over answers. One who would lie, deceive, or even kill if it suited her. Maybe that's false? Lumi questioned. Maybe she won't kill us for intruding. I doubt he asked permission before opening that portal. Deepening and freezing. The air pushed in from all sides, crystallizing the sweat on Lumi's head. An intensifying groan echoed throughout, collapsing in from all sides as if the walls begged, hoping to flee. A thin blanket of ice grew, rapidly melting into negligible droplets of air. Lumi's spine willowed, shivering away from the sound. The groan faded, releasing the tightening grip around her bones, allowing her to breathe and sweat to drool. Gnaws of sweat dripped, her body drenched. Yet she watched Uriel, his pace unchanging, his face unmoved. Short, shallow gulps escaped the beating of her chest, struggling to understand. He didn't react? Did it happen? Or was her mind simply faking it? He would have reacted. Lumi stammered, air clamped in her throat. The walls turned to ice. But he didn't care? No motion or sound? No sigh or grunt? Faint blue light exited Lumi's eyes, sweat rolling down her cheek, her gaze weak and drippy. Just how, are you so uncaringly calm? It's annoying. Shouldn't I be? Uriel answered, slowly turning his body, his golden eyes glued on Lumi's every detail. Did something happen? I can do this alone if you need to go. Go by yourself. We know nothing about this god, Lumi declared. What is there within reality that you need to speak to her? You could have asked me to meet any god, yet you chose her. Why? You aren't even nervous. She isn't like us. She can kill us, easily. You are so arrogant if you believe you can win. Stammering back, Uriel's eyes widened. His fingers twitched and he nearly fell. A drop of sweat fell from his hair. His hearing focused on Lumi's rapid heartbeat and shallow breaths. Why do you care? You know nothing of me, Uriel announced. Nothing. You will never understand. You haven't lost anyone, but Ajax and you barely knew him. His voice rapid and his heart raged with slight welts of tears boiling. I will do it for her, Uriel thought. His legs buckled and shivered, his bones soft. He tried speaking, but his voice clamped, wilting into soft sobs. Tears flowed down his face and his body collapsed into an unclean pile. His head was placed upon his knees and his arms hugged them tightly. Nothing, he muttered repeatedly. You will never understand. I need her. Lumi stepped forward in an unruly act. You cry over what? Her? She spat. Acting like you're so special, Uriel's mind cracked, burning as if boiled alive. Thoughts and whims were stagnant. She must help, he repeated, to bring them back. Raining down a tsunami of tears, they just stopped. His body crumpled as if it were dying, releasing not a sound, only the bitter stench of salt. Rose, he softly muttered, his body frozen. Sounds of faint breathing exited his bobbing lungs. Yuki, Lily. Her eyes shot open, her spine bellowing and beckoning, clearing her thoughts, ones of frustration and hatred. Uriel, are you alive? Lumi pleaded, kneeling and her heart burning. What have I done? This can't be my fault, right? Rose, he muttered, shallowly, saliva dripping from his mouth. Is that you? I got so angry, Lumi mumbled, sitting next to Uriel and sighing softly. Over what? Your calmness? Firmly against the wall, her back arched forward, staring blankly at Uriel. A deep, cathartic rhyme bounced on her chest. Her fingers tightened. Bringing the book, Lumi pressed it against her face. Rose? Why have you been so quiet about her? I guess that made me believe you were... Over her, Lumi muttered, an empty stare glaring at the coarse book. I can't explain why I was so... angry. I'm only guessing I was jealous, envious. After all, you and Diex are so... powerful. I'm just Lumi, the weakest god. I didn't think about how you felt, losing your wife and kids. I was too focused on my problems, on Ajax. I never cared, Lumi continued. I am sorry. I hope you forgive me. I promise I'll think about your issues first. Please, wake up, please. Lowering her head, the book drooling to the side, tears formed in her eyes. This is my fault, isn't it? Small, wet splotches appeared on the ground. Falling from the silent, crying of Lumi. Yuki, Lily, Uriel begged, softly, where are you? Silence blocked all sounds. His words cut deep and stabbed at her throat. Catching her voice, a mouse caught in a trap. That's right. I never asked about his children. I never even cared enough to ask about them, about their ages, or what their names are. Luni muttered, tears falling onto Uriel's hair. Am I better than EGS? Am I just as evil as he? Am I better? Lumi murmured, slapping her head against the wall. I can fix this, right? If I'm better than him, I should help. I must help Uriel. The least I can do. I am not worse than EGS. Her hands shot to the side of her head, grasping strands of hair. The book dropped against Uriel's nose. A foul taste of rotten, mushy bananas seeped in, dancing upon his tongue, sticking in his teeth. Lumi's fingers tightened, ripping out small strands of hair. How do I fix this? I should wake him, but how? I wasn't taught about humans. It was so sudden, he didn't give me time to react. Does this happen often? How do I help? Uriel, please, anything.